Over the last year, 3 Inner Side has discovered a disturbing trend within the Jackson Police Department, a lack of transparency that could threaten the safety of those who live within the capital city. Chief Investigative Reporter C.J. Lemaster joins us now to explain this pattern of secrecy.
Howard, from requesting details on deadly officer-involved shootings to asking for the number of active duty officers, time and time again, each was met with silence for weeks. In more than one case, we had to threaten legal action just to get an answer. Perhaps more troubling was what we found in the department's own weekly crime reports. So we got one of the leading experts in the country, a criminologist and former NYC police captain, to go through all this too, double-check what we found, and tell us what it all means for the capital city.
Clearly, there's something going on here. This is not to be whitewashed. This is serious. This is people's lives.
For nearly a year, an analysis of weekly CompStat reports from the Jackson Police Department shows the public's been sold a safer picture of Jackson than what actually exists. 3 on Your Side found discrepancies in JPD's crime statistics, specifically year-to-date numbers of major crimes.
The pattern should just remain the same throughout the data. This is Basic Statistics 101.
But that pattern did change and showed significantly lower numbers on at least 3 dates, like May 20th, July 22nd, and October 14th. What's so special about those dates? Those weekly reports were selected by JPD to be released on social media.
If you're seeing a pattern that's occurring and suddenly on dates of release, you're seeing a decrease in those numbers, it's a red flag.
Here are all the official releases. Notice the gaps, because JPD sometimes waited months to release these weekly numbers. Look at grand larcenies, for example. If all you saw was what the department released, you'd think we had a 55% drop in grand larcenies versus the previous year. That's huge. It's also not true. We got those missing weeks from JPD through an open records request, and it shows a much different reality for the capital city, higher crime. When we asked the chief about this, he deferred to one of his commanders.
The program, the outdated program that we were using, were pulling all of the larcenies. It wasn't separating grand larceny or misdemeanor.
Commander Tyrone Buckley says that problem started when the law which defined grand larceny changed. But that change didn't happen in 2018. Legislators updated that law more than 4 years ago, which makes you wonder if this problem had been happening before 2018. We found no evidence of fluctuating numbers in 2017.
The discrepancy appears to be throughout the year, so we haven't narrowed down to a specific date, time frame, or so forth.
But we did, and we provided that to the department 2 weeks ago. Those are the same dates that JPD released numbers to the public. So every time that those numbers were released to the public on social media, for example, those numbers were lower. Anybody want to take that one?
Well, I can assure you, I don't know why those numbers were lower. We came in office. I don't know the reporting date, the actual date that these numbers are reported. However, we identified that problem, and we are making steps to correct that problem. Right. I don't know why they was reported on that day.
It's a strange coincidence, right?
Well, I don't think it's strange. It's just we're not perfect by no means. You check anywhere, you're going to find discrepancies in numbers and wherever you go and whatever you do. We're not hiding numbers. We don't have anything to hide.
Criminologist Johnny Turno doesn't buy it.
There is no outside agency reviewing these statistics. Those crimes are more likely to be manipulated because they know they are being judged on those basic crimes.
He should know, Eterno's a former NYC police captain whose research proved the NYPD's own crime reporting wasn't accurate.
The best that we can hope for from the police department is they be more transparent and try to work with the public to fight real crime and not play with these numbers.
So how much do those inaccuracies affect Jackson's total crime picture? Look at July 15th. At that point, overall crime in 2018 was 5% higher than the previous year. It was about the same on July 29th, but the stats for July 22nd, released by the Jackson Police Department, the only public release in July, contradict that. That 5% increase became a 5% decrease to the public.
This makes me uncomfortable because it just makes me feel like the department has something to hide.
There's no good way to spin this. If the numbers are not being presented accurately in a timely manner, that's something that's bad for the city of Jackson and needs to be addressed.
That lack of transparency also extended into recent deadly officer-involved shootings in Jackson. We waited for weeks on incident reports from 2 of those deadly shootings. What we got were retyped reports instead of the originals, meaning we couldn't tell what JPD might have taken out. In this case, employees removed portions of the narrative from both cases that would have given the public a better idea of what happened when Crystalline Barnes and Nathaniel Fleming were killed by officers.
So if there's an ongoing investigation, you're going to get limited information, and you can't hold that against the police department because of an ongoing investigation.
We did get limited information until we threatened legal action against JPD, and they released the full narrative. But that withholding of information also extends to personnel. For months, JPD couldn't even produce the number of active duty officers on the streets for us. We asked because multiple sources within JPD tell us that number had dropped to what they called dangerous levels.
We had actually been trying to get that number since mid-November through an open records request.
You could have just called me. I would have told you.
But Davis didn't even tell reporters how many officers he would have after a new recruit class of 29 graduated in December because he didn't know.
I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head, but it's going to make a big dent in our reduction.
Now he says 180 of JPD's finest active duty officers are protecting the public.
That would be 60 officers per shift, right?
I hadn't did the numbers.
If you got 3 shifts, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, you got 60. For a city of 160,000 plus, when you hear that number, what goes through your head?
Nothing goes through my head. I know what we're doing. We're providing police service. We're filling all our beats. We're providing the best police service possible with what we have. We're not looking for an excuse.
And if their investigation into these modified crime stats shows someone is responsible, Davis says they'll take appropriate action, even though he doesn't believe it was intentional.
Really, you owe it to the victims. That's really the concern, that the victims are falling through the cracks when either we don't take reports or we massage reports. We see it over and over again, and watchdogs like the media need to be on top of it.
Hours ago, Chief Davis called me and asked me if the numbers in my analysis were factual and if I could back up what I said. I told him I stand behind what I reported. After all, the numbers come from his department. He also gave another reason for those decreases in crimes we noted. Officers might downgrade crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. Well, if that's true, based on JPD's own reports, it would mean the department downgraded 200 grand larcenies one week and upgraded them back to felonies the next week. You can see the data for yourself on our website, WLBT.com.